So far with Canon Fodder, we've managed to reduce an awful lot of the headaches we might have in building the movement engine by having this wonderful object that will do all of the A-star algorithm for us, which is perfect. But all we can do at the moment is go above and below a forest and work out which one we should do, which is great. And so if we just show it and remind ourselves, if we click up here, it will go above. And if we click down here, it will go below. Brilliant. But we need this to be a lot more powerful. We need to be able to click anywhere and it go anywhere. Well, within reason. Because this works with nodes, it won't be able to go anywhere. But that's okay, because in Canon Fodder, they can't, well, maybe they can, but maybe they can't go literally anywhere. And I'm not really going to be exploring how you would go anywhere, although maybe you could do it by creating like a temporary node. But anyway, what we're looking at doing is looking at creating a kind of grid of nodes. Okay, so if we go back to our paint file, at the moment we've got sort of 4 nodes. What I want to do is, first of all, get rid of this. This is like the old way. Wow, that just goes that color. Okay, that's interesting. How do I select? Rectangle, select all, delete. Oh wow, because that's black? I have no idea. Learning paint, interesting. Right, so if I just sort of show you what we're looking at doing. So we're looking at creating loads of nodes. So a node sort of everywhere. And let's just start off with 3 and then sort of work from there. So let's select these. I can Control C, Control V, paste them down here, paste them down here. So let's start off by doing this amount of nodes. Now we also need to connect them up. So we need sort of these connections here, but we need these both ways. So we need the connection both ways. And I'm just going to show these with lines now. So all of these need to be connected up. Oops. I feel Paint is not the best tool for this, but it's quick. And they need to be both ways. So if 1 connects to 2, 2 will connect to 1. The next thing we need to do is work out how we're going to number these actually. I think the top row it will start with the top row. And then the next row will be 4, 5, 6. Then we've got 7, 8, 9. Pretty straightforward. Cool. Right. So that's what we're looking at creating here. And so if I click on node 9, it will find the fastest path to node 9. And then if I click on a different node, it will then keep going to where I want it to go. Wicked. Right. So we're not going to show the nodes anymore because, well, we don't need to. Those were just there to sort of show us what we were doing. So let's delete that. Yeah, delete everything else. And I'm going to have him start at, we're going to do these in 100, I think. So I want him to start at the top left. So we're going to have him start at 100, 100. There we go. So we're going to have each of these nodes be sort of 100 across each time, just to make things a bit easier. Okay, and we're going to be doing all of this stuff with loops, so we can get rid of all this stuff now, because we're going to be working with loops. So really we're sort of starting again, and we're going to loop through our X or our rows. Just trying to think of whether we loop for our rows first. No, we probably want to loop for our columns first. Yeah, if we want them numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, we're going to do the columns first. And we're going to do 3. And then on that loop, we're going to do the rows. I think that makes sense. Copy that. Go do 3 of those. in the real game, obviously we're going to do way more than 3, but you've got to do a bit of proof of concept. So we need to add the node. So create new path node. The X position will be the loop indexes. So fast loop, and we're going to do the rows. We're going to add 1 to it because that will be 0 based. So it would be 0 plus 1, and we're going to times by 100. And let's just look on that. So can I move all this? I think I can. Okay. So the coordinates of this will start off with 100, then it'll be 200, then 300, and then 100, 200, if I can type, and then 300. So loop index 0 will be 0 plus 1 times 100, so 100. Loop index 1, so the second one, will be 1 plus 2, 2, sorry, 1 plus 1, 2 times 100, 200. Okay, so it will give you 100, 200, then 300, which is what we want. Cool. And then we're going to copy and paste that because we're going to do the same thing but for columns. And that will give us 100, 200, 300 for the Y coordinates. Simple. Okay. Now we need to test this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another starter frame. And, well, actually in this starter frame, I want to just tell it that the object, set object to the player. And we'll probably want to do that first before we do anything. Okay. And we want to, I've missed a step here deliberately. Don't worry if you're shouting at the YouTube video. We're going to add node path, and we're going to put him at node 1. Where he starts, and then we're going to move him to, I don't know, the 9, which will be the bottom right one, and we're going to say start. Now this isn't going to do anything, okay, so start, nothing, right? And the reason being is that we haven't done any of these connections, so it knows, what it knows at the moment is this. I'm rubbish at drawing circles. That's my New Year's resolution, is learn to draw good circles on paint. So all it knows is this, and it knows their numbers. So it knows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? But it doesn't know the connections yet. So we need to tell it. And this is going to need us to use paint a little bit, because what I want to do is actually undo this. And I'm going to imagine that we've created this one. And this one, it can't connect to anything yet, okay, because there is no other node. I don't know whether you can connect in advance. This is my issue, is I don't know whether I can tell it to connect in advance, or whether I should draw them all out and then do the connections. I think it would be simplistic to draw it all out and then do the connections. So you're probably going to discover that actually it's clever enough to be able to do connections in advance, but I'm not going to risk that because it's going to be too irritating. So I'm going to copy all of that with Control C. I'm going to just delete that bit, don't need that bit. And I'm going to kind of have a second loop. I'm going to call it connect. No, I'm just going to call it 2. I don't have time. Don't have time to be editing too much. So we're going to do the second loop to do the connections. And again, it could be that we can do this all in one, but let's not for the start, so that we can minimize the chance that I've mucked up somewhere. Okay, so we have drawn out we've told Clickteam where the nodes are, or we've told the object where the nodes are, but we need to tell it where the connections are. So let's have a think about how we do this logically. When we're doing number 1, we want number 1 to connect to the next one that way. Oh, it's getting too small now. So this way. We want it to connect to the next one this way. and we want it to connect to the one below. This way and the other way. Wrestling with this now. And the other way, right? I think I can zoom in somehow. Oh, have you got to use the magnifying glass? There is no oh, here it is. Right. Come on. Give me a nice arrow. I think there probably are some arrows somewhere here. Probably here. Could have just used those, couldn't I? It's not too late, Chris. It's not too late. I'm going to connect that way. Oh, wow. That's a really small arrow. That was a poor life choice. Anyway. Connect that way, both ways. We want this one to do the same. So we want all of them to do that. Okay, all of them to do that. All of them to do that. So that's what we want to do. And we'll come back to the exceptions later on. So we want the... Where are we? Don't even know what I'm doing. Add path node. And we want the current number. Now this is going to be a bit of maths here. So let's try and work that out. So this is going to be the is it the rows? Right. So the rows will be 0, 1, and 2. The fast index for rows. So it'll be rows 2, won't it? And this will be for cols 2. And it will be 0, 1, and 2. Now we need to somehow get the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's hard to draw with the mouse, and 9 from these two numbers. Okay. Well, we can see for this first row, it's just going to be rows 2. So rows 2. If I can spell, rows 2 plus 1, right? So for this one, all we need to do is add 1 to rows 2. Okay, 0 plus 1, 1 plus 1, 2 plus 1. Perfect. But then this row kind of mucks that up because 0 plus 1 is 1, not 4. So we need to somehow add 3. So for that row, we want to do the same thing as above, but we need to add 3. 0 plus 1 is 1, plus 3 is 4. 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 3 is 5, right? And for this one, we need to plus sort of 2 times 3. 2 lots of 3. Put it in brackets, right? We need to add 2 lots of 3. 0 plus 1, 1, plus 2 lots of 3, 6, which is 7, right? Now, how do I get that 3? Well, I can do 1 lot of 3 here. So instead of plus 3, let's get rid of that. I want to plus 1 lot of 3, right? Simple. Well, hang on. Here, I can add 0 lots of 3, right? Because 0 times 3 is just 0, right? So here, each time I'm adding 0 lots of 3, 1 lot of 3, 2 lot of 3. Well, where's 0, 1, and 2 come from? 0, 1, and 2 come from col 2. So it's going to be rows 2. Let's do the final one here. I might actually type it. Right? So we're going to do rows 2 plus 1. We're going to have that. And we're going to stretch this out. We can have it all in one line. Plus cols 2 times 3. How easy is that, eh? That's pretty cool. And that will give us the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5, the 6, the 7, the 8, the 9. Simples. Right. So it will be, so the node that they're at is the fast loop of rows 2 plus 1 plus the loop index of cols 2 times 3. Now, what I might do, I like to check things, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a string here, and I'm going to output the thingy bob. So I'm going to change alterable string. I'm going to say whatever the string is. I'm going to add a new line, which I can never remember what the heck it's called. I think it's in here somewhere. Strings, new line $, and I'm going to add what that is, but it's not a string, it's a number, so we're just going to say as a string, right? And what that should give me is just 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 if I'm successful. So let's see whether I'm successful. Application, okay, text, because it starts with text. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So we know that when it's creating the 9 nodes, so 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, it knows, each node knows what number it is now as it's going through this second loop. Whoa, that's pretty heavy. Okay, so that is how you're going to determine the sort of index of each item. I mean, to be honest, I've used this for nodes, but you could use this for instances of objects. You could use this for pretty much anything. And that translation of an X and a Y coordinate to an index is something you will absolutely need to know for a range of different things. So if you didn't know that before, you know it now. If you did know it before, you might have a slightly different way of doing it. And you know, when you have like brackets in mathematics, there's all sorts of weird and wonderful ways you could do it. So there we go. I'm going to stop there now. I know we're halfway through this, but I want to try and keep these videos as short as can be, because I know it's probably quite a lot of me waffling too much, and I don't want these long behemoths of videos. So I'm going to continue this tomorrow. So tomorrow we're going to check the nodes. We're going to see whether the player can move from node 1 to 9, which at the moment they can't because they haven't got those paths. You might have noticed as well that creating these paths to the right for the last object is not going to be good because there is no node. It would then create a link between node 3 and 4, which we don't want. So we need to figure that out, and that should be quite straightforward to limit the when that happens. And we shall do that. So thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, click like. If you want to see more from us, click subscribe, and thank you very much, and I'll see you tomorrow.